And the Constitutional Court made a decision, a ruling yesterday, basically to say, look, you can't accuse somebody before he has acted. You can't. How do you say somebody is a thief when you are still saying he's thinking of stealing? He hasn't done anything yet. So the Constitutional Court dispensed with the legal challenges. I also respect those citizens of Zimbabwe who may have wondered, who went to the Constitutional Court. It is their right to do so. By the same token, when a decision is made, we also expect that everybody will abide by it. These are the three pillars of our democracy: the judiciary, the executive, and the legislative. So all of them are involved in this process. There is no better jamboree of democracy than what we are demonstrating. We are showing that we are mature in our approach to statecraft. That's what all this process has done. That as it may, the main point which arises is the confidence with which Zimbabweans are showing in support of President Mnangagwa. This is the outstanding aspect of this exercise. This is the most glaring outcome, that President Mnangagwa has got the general support of most, if not overwhelming majority of Zimbabweans in the conduct of the affairs of Zimbabwe. In a short 7 years, he has turned this country completely around. Yes. The figures coming out of the Reserve Bank show that we now have exports of over 8 billion, 10 billion US dollars. We now have an import cover of foreign reserves of several times over what we consume every month. Our current account in Zimbabwe is in black. That's why everybody has got US dollars in his pocket. It means, we are earning US dollars. We are not being given to them by America. I repeat, US dollars in Zimbabwe are not a gift of the American government. They are not even an arrangement between the Zimbabwe government and America. No, we don't have a bilateral arrangements by America to get America to ship US dollars to Zimbabwe. We were under sanctions from them. We still are under sanctions. It would be illegal under American law if that were to be done by the American government. What is happening is that the market is the one determining the flow of dollars to Zimbabwe. It means this country is working so hard that you earn your keep every day using the most difficult currency on the global market, the US dollar. It means we work hard. We work harder than any other population. There are very few African countries where you can get $1 a day in your pocket. Very few. And the yardstick of the World Bank about poverty is that if you can have a $1 a day, you can escape extreme deprivation. In Zimbabwe, everybody has got US dollars, hard-earned US dollars. The only old ones are the $1 notes and the $10 notes for change. But all the other notes, they are crispy new. Where do we get them? We get them from the global marketplace. Tinotengesa zvinhu pamusika. Hapi when an American government. Musika wegold ku Dubai. Zvikuru musika weforge ku China nedzimwe nyika. That's how we earn our US dollars. So we have done well under President Mnangagwa. The granaries are full. We don't have to beg for food every year. We used to go to the World Food Program, and we, every charity organization, Oxfam, this one, that one, they would know that every year Zimbabweans are starving. They will be coming and begging for food, and we would be no more of that. So our population is generally very healthy because we have now become food sufficient on our own, and we may start exporting wheat very soon. We are already exporting many other crops where we are in excess, the fruits. You go along the Limpopo Valley. Plantations are mushrooming all over the Limpopo Valley. Very soon it will be yellow from the border of the Botswana all the way to the border of Mozambique with citrus fruits. Zimbabweans are busy at work. Blueberries, in Mutare, avocados in Manicaland. All these are being produced by Zimbabweans for the world market. That's how we are earning our US dollars. We has made it possible. None other than President E.D. Mnangagwa. So when you do well economically, when your population is welfare, especially food security-wise, is assured, when your population begins to export the way it does, this is a very good thing for Zimbabwe, and that's why Zimbabweans in CAB3, they said they want President Mnangagwa to continue until 2030. Then after 2030, we see where we go from there. Hopefully, we use the interim to think seriously about the caliber of the leadership which will take over from him, so that we maintain stability, we maintain certainty in our political direction, and give assurance to business to say Zimbabwe is a good destination, not only businessmen from Zimbabwe for domestic direct investment. Yes, Zimbabweans, they are investing a lot in their own country. The house building which is going on, this is Zimbabweans. It's not foreigners mostly who are building all over. It's Zimbabweans. This is a good thing, that people are taking their money out of pillows. They are building infrastructure in rural areas now. Solar panels are everywhere. Only the other day we're getting a report from the Minister of Education, the two Ministers of Education. The jump rate in rural areas has grown phenomenally. They used the pass rate for grade 7 students used to be probably 15-20%. Now it is at 35%. And we are aiming for 50%. Why is it possible? Because Starlink has gone to rural areas. Pupils can now do research using the internet, which is supplied by satellite, which the government of Zimbabwe, in fact, the president himself, is the one who made sure that he signs the license for Starlink. But it's not only access to course material, it is also the availability of solar lamps. When I grew up, I wanted to do homework. Then I used to get firewood to try to do homework in the night after I had gone to Sakura Namai. Now, firewood light is unreliable. This is how we grew up. But now with solar energy becoming easily available, in fact, now they are saying solar is getting cheaper than even hydroelectricity from coal and thermal power stations globally. And our people, because they are doing well in the rural areas, the prices may not have been as good this year as they were last year, but still, it's a cash crop. Now people are buying solar lamps, they have solar chargers, they can charge their phones. It means more information again is available. So this availability of course material for pupils is the one which probably explains why the pass rate is rising, and we want more of that in rural areas. That's what ZANU-PF stands for, to close the gap between rural areas and urban communities. So when you take all these things in total, President Mnangagwa has done well, and people of Zimbabwe, being risk averse, they've decided that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We want to go on with him. He can do more of the good works which he has been doing for the country. And already he himself, as this process of CAB3 was going on, and he saw the vote of confidence being given to him by the parliamentary process, by the consultative process in the communities of Zimbabwe. He has now diverted his attention to casting to more economic opportunities which can be seized by Zimbabwe on the global stage.
and the response has been good. A lot of business people in UK, a lot of business people in China, a lot of business people in South Africa and elsewhere, they are saying that we want to go to Zimbabwe. This is where we are going to put money. So expect a surge in foreign direct investment in Zimbabwe, especially now that we have removed this period of transition. They were thinking that there would be a difficult transition in Zimbabwe come 2028, and they had become jittery about where this country would go. Now they've been reassured by our democratic processes that everything is under control and President Mnangagwa is in charge. So we are going to see a big inward flow of investments into Zimbabwe because we are advertising a risk-free, politically mature, stable democracy in the midst of Africa, at a time when opportunities for Africa are tantalizing. Everybody wants Africa's minerals, even for Zimbabwe. Yesterday, in fact, today, when the G7 issued its communique about critical minerals, there were two minerals which they mentioned, cobalt, and the other one is lithium. Yeah, cobalt, everybody, you know, the trucks which you see in the road from Zambia through Chinoi going to Beira or South Africa. Those lowbeds, most of them are carrying cobalt from DRC. They supply 80% of the world cobalt, but they also supply copper with Zambia. So this mineral is coming from our neighbor. But the other one, which is mentioned in the G7 in Paris, is lithium, because lithium is an absolute necessity for tablets, for phones, for the new cars, which are now electric. I don't know whether you've noticed when you are driving around Harare, a lot of showrooms are coming up of new car brands which you have never heard of. Chery, BYD, Great Wall Motors. This is the future of the electric, of the vehicle industry. It's electric. And already the presence of those showrooms, even though you are not yet seeing the cars, it is a point as to where we are going as a country. Somebody is seeing an opportunity. Maybe go to Agama service station, a petrol pamwe peza kuestamari. Chitanga ikufunga ku Agama service station ema electric chargers. Say I'm not going to send this up phone thing. It's the same charge, but on a bigger scale. This is where we are going as a country. So lithium is very important in this industry. And the hard rock lithium is Zimbabwe is said to have probably 20 to 25% of the known reserves globally. So our mineral has been identified by the top 7 economies of the world outside of China, outside of India. It's a good thing that God has endowed us with this resource. And to show that our president is futuristic, as far back as 2018, when he went to China on a state visit, one of the things which he did, that was his first visit when he became president of the Republic, was to ask protocol of China to allow him to go to a town called Hangzhou in a province called Zhejiang. Hangzhou is the high-tech center of China. There are many others, of course, Shenzhen. But the futuristic ones in terms of vision, not gadgets, is Hangzhou. And this is where most of the people who are involved in the new energy electric industry come from, in Zhejiang. He met them, those Chinese billionaires who were anticipating the transition from fossil fuel to electric vehicles. And they followed him to Zimbabwe. As a result, we now have Bigita Lithium, we now have Arcadia Lithium, we now have 2 or 3 other major lithium producers, and he just didn't stop at asking them to come and invest in mining. He has asked them to go up the value chain to the production of lithium sulfate. Who knows, very soon we may be actually producing lithium carbonate. These are minerals which have got a very high value on the global marketplace. So Zimbabwe is becoming the global value chain member of the production of electric vehicles. Isn't that a source of pride for Zimbabweans? That when somebody is in Finland driving an electric car, the lithium inside could have come from Zimbabwe. When you are buying an electric battery in Bolivia, maybe the battery of lithium came from Zimbabwe. We are part of, and not only in raw form, but in processed form. And the president has been now in his Politburo speeches, the last two Politburo meetings, he has been highlighting the importance of Zimbabwe becoming a reliable member of the global value chain. What he's saying is that we must now conduct our affairs knowing that what we do in Zimbabwe has got a bearing on the global marketplace. Timboriwo pamamonya ipapo, a global economy, a global business. Iripo Zimbabwe pamamonya. Those are the president Mnangagwa. So this is a man who has restored our pride. This is a man who has given us back our confidence. And our people, we are very used to risk. We went through a war. We don't follow trends easily without proper consideration as to the consequences of what we may be, of our actions. So we are very cautious as a country, we are risk averse. So this is reflected in CAB3, in giving support and confidence to a man who has revived the fortunes of this country. It's a good thing for Zimbabweans to do that, to maintain stability, to maintain certainty, so that we don't have shocks, both domestically and on the global stage. That kind of conduct by our president also deserves respect by even those who may aspire to be his political opponents. There are some within ZANU-PF. There are some who have also, in general within ZANU-PF, the opposition has pretty much collapsed. Yeah, like I said before, there's nothing wrong with ambition. Being politicians presupposes that you have ambition. We can't take it away from you. But what is important is to exercise with ambition, your ambition, with due respect to the support of the generality of the population, to leadership which is competent. And President Mnangagwa's leadership has proved to be competent. Yours, in your head, it may be competent, but hatsata kuona bakuti uri competent on the ground. So chimbosiya ari kudiwa nevanhu ari competent ambofamba nechini, because vanhu vari kumuda. Ambition yako ichawana zuva rayo raichaita sei, raichawana mukana. Because there have been 3 or 4 people whom social media has been promoting, kuti vakazodii. Now you see, the problem with social media is that everybody has become a publisher. Nyaya dzekundari dzaingoperera kundari, kuti ningi ishasha zvitaurwa kundari kudoro dzazara manje pa social media, and the population is being vexed by publications of mostly wayward individuals who may have ambition and who want to voice that ambition on the populace using social media. No, give the population a break. The population has shown that it is mature. Iwewe pacha pauri papo, show that you are a mature politician by acting in a similar conduct, in a conduct befitting an electorate which is so wise, a parliament which is so capable, which is so conscious of its duty. So I don't want to mention names because why they are most of them are my colleagues. They were still in the same party. So why mention names? But Pavari Papo, wherever they may be, I think after this process here, CAB3, Diamond Popo president a break. I mean, there's nothing wrong to kuendoa president. Unotorwa self now. Maybe human beings, they've got a different chemistry. munonzwana on many other issues. But wabva ikoko waukangana kuti president vane responsibility kune nyika yese kune pasi rose waungoda kungadundurudza kunge munhu chinhu chako aiwa dai vatisiyirawo president vaine chimiro chavo ikoko. I speak because I want to defend the integrity and of the personality of the president of my party. I'm appealing to those to now throw more caution, to exercise more caution about how they deport themselves should they find favor of being near power. Inopengesa kakupawa ukangowasvika padhuze nayo unobva wafunga unotanga kumera manhenga uri padhuze nayo. Inopengesa pawa. Isusu takabva nayo kure tiri vana adiki takanoitsvaga. We tend to be very measured about power because we know where it comes from. But vamwe vanoita buka nayo vaenda padhuze. Yavambosiya president nechimiro chavo nekusaportwa kwanoitwa nevanhu ovarespecta madirwa avanoitwa nevanhu. And also, I say this because I've got to address it. I've got a picture of a newspaper using my name to denigrate another person. Look, I'm not privy to the politics of that person. But I have no power to be running over him because I only exercise power and drop you as a spokesperson and president. I really had nothing to do with this headline. I want to make it clear. I had nothing to do with this headline. Yes, it doesn't mean that I support the individual. I'm not purporting to support that individual. I'm not purporting to promote him. I just want to say, in the newspaper. I had nothing to do with it. And I'm very cautious about mentioning names. Because if I start mentioning names in the party, how do we then relate Mangwana, Kanatapa, Basari Msanga? I don't mention names in the party. So, on your part as journalists, really don't attribute something which I have not said. And then try to use my party spokesman role as a betting stick in settling scores about ambition. No, I'm not involved in that. I have no dog in this fight. I've said it before. I don't want to have a dog in this fight. My allegiance is to the president. He's doing a good job. The party is happy with him. The population is happy with him. I want him to continue until 2030. And Parliament has said the same thing. It is the lower house. We expect the upper house to do the same thing. And very soon, I think the bill will be available. So I just wanted to clarify that point about social media. Everybody has become a publisher, but let's not abuse it to try to foist it as if it is the be-all of everything about Zimbabwe. Vanhu vemuzimbabwe havana basa nezvo nezviri kutaurwa izvo. Havana basa nezvozvo izvo. Vanhu vachikoda kungotsvaga kuti it becomes a side show to take away Zimbabweans' attention from the serious job of getting food to the family, of growing an economy, of growing exports, of state, of being successful business people. We now want to be judged by Junisani Basarese. No. Let's put our ducks in a proper row. That's what I appeal about social media. So by and large, that's what I wanted to say. We are happy with the CAB process. It has vindicated the resolutions of ZANU-PF about the judgment of their leader, because it's a parliamentary process of which we only take part as one of the players. And our resolutions are in resonance with the thinking of the populace of Zimbabwe, which sends representatives to parliament. And they have spoken, so President Mnangagwa can refocus his attention to what he does best, which is to build a thoroughly modern economy which will surprise the world. That economy coming from Africa. But President, when you start speaking of value chains, he is fully aware of the responsibility which Zimbabwe is beginning to assume in the global economy. hatisingoriwo vemukumbunjike as a country. No, tavepo, we've arrived as a country. We are now part of the global value chain. What we have done in lithium, we want to do it in steel. America now is to build a lot of infrastructure to catch up with countries like China, because the realization from this conflict in Persian Gulf is that America realized the world is multipolar. Even now, they are now realizing that the world is multipolar. There is no more one center of power in the world. You saw him. This I am not. Trump himself acknowledging that if Russia and China had been involved in Iran, it would have made their task much worse than what it could have been. This is America, the American president himself. So he's becoming fully aware of America's responsibility as the number one global power in the world. This is a good thing when the superpower becomes aware of its global responsibilities and act in such a way that there is no disturbance of world shocks in the global community. It may mean that America will direct more of its resources away from warfare, building weapons, to developing its own infrastructure, its own economy. Why not? It's a very competent country, America. If it can apply its resources to the growth of the American economy, it will do very well like it has done in the past. But what does that do? It creates market demand. And what does market demand do? It gives opportunities for other countries to also become prosperous. And good fortune favors the prepared. And President Mnangagwa has made Zimbabwe be prepared for the eventuality. We are now producing steel, world-class quality steel. And we've got the resources to produce whatever amount of steel. All those mountains in Manisa, they are still. Why not have a battery of steel plants along the Manisa ranges producing steel for the global market? Because President Mnangagwa has shown that by proof of concept that an inland African country without a cost can produce steel rather than export raw ore, which would have been expensive for Zimbabwe. So we produce steel. So proof of concept is there. And this is a man who has done what Africa has done. This is a road which Africa has never traveled before. The steel plants which used to exist were inherited from apartheid colonial era. And there was a feeling that Africans cannot produce a modern steel plant. Saka taingovairirwa nedzakasiyiwa nevarungu. Zimbabwe changes the matrix. An African country now produces world-class steel. For your own information, England is struggling to have a steel plant come back to its economy. So we can grow this industry. And we have a neighbor who is doing very well, Mozambique, in energy. I mean, you need to alert Zimbabweans that billions are being put in Cabo Delgado in Mozambique. This is about 1 hour, 20 minutes, if not less, away from here by plane. The biggest investment probably on the African continent is going on there for gas, because Mozambique is going to become number 3 after Russia and Qatar. And this other area has proven that there can be instability in the Middle East. So Mozambique can become a sanctuary of sustained gas production. And they are our neighbors. So we go and build thermal gas stations in Mozambique to generate electricity. We bring it by transmission lines using steel from Manisa to build transmission lines. Can you imagine the prosperity which will entail from all that? Then we can produce steel cheaper than even China, which accounts for 60% of the global steel industry. Let's dream big as a country. It's possible. It can be done. And who has shown that it can be done? President Mnangagwa. We are very lucky that he has been our leader for the past 7 months. If he had been 7 years, maybe he should have been there earlier, where we would be somewhere much further than where we are today. But it doesn't matter, better late than never. And because of that pedigree which he has shown, vision, respect for capital, that capital changes people's lives. That was absent in the First Republic. So more capital is going to come into Zimbabwe. Please don't be distracted by ana Maguu nevamwe vese vanongoti dai zvakadai dai zvazodaiwo. Maguu has never brought a company to invest to show that what he's talking about can be done. Chake kumaka dzaunzwa nevamwe zvamaita zvirizo zvamaita imbonzo chako toona by example kuti chako chinoita mandiriri pane kungomakwa zvinoitwa pa next door. This is we want people who are positive. When you feel that something is not being done properly, go and look for an investor who demonstrates the standards which you are demanding. And what does it do? It induces competition in the economy, so that excellence comes from competing to show that you can produce better labor conditions, better quality products, better community responsibility, all those things which you have been saying that the benchmarks can be done better. Go and get that company. Let it be in the market. Let it prove itself that it can be done. And when it is done, it will outcompete that one which you are criticizing. I can only criticize a book. I will ignore examination. Every time you criticize, we examination at one examination. So we've got all these people who are, and I'm not saying that it's all rosy. We have challenges. Some of the industries are very young. We have challenges in the gold industry. It has grown very rapidly in 10 years. There are still things which need to be perfected. And I want to salute the First Lady. She was in Chegutu 2 days ago. Here we have startup companies, a startup Zimbabwean gold company, Yema SMEs, now producing probably number 2 or number 3 gold wall. Magaya mining. It's bigger than some of the big mines which you know. Organizing all those SME gold miners in Chegutu. I'll tell you a story. He came to me, Magaya Mining, as a lawyer 3 years ago. He said, Mutsvangwa, I've been sent by my client as a lawyer. I want your blessing to evict all the 10 to 15,000 SME miners who are at that mine in Chegutu. I don't want to name the name of the mine. I said, you see, your currency, the currency of your boss is gold. My currency, as the top politician in Mashona and West, coming from Chegutu district, is votes. If you are going to be evicting 15,000 to 20,000 miners, SME miners from that gold rush, animal claims legally, it means I will kiss goodbye the next seat of parliament, because all those people will not vote for us, for me. They say I would have been responsible for evicting them from their livelihoods. So I've got a better proposition. Can you not go and organize those people as SMEs to mine responsibly? And when you organize them, they will dig all the safest gold, which your company is not interested in. Because you're a big miner, you come for big things. You just push all this rubble when you are mining. You want the deep veins. So they'll clean up all the safest gold for you. And then maybe they prospect for you, because you don't need to send prospect. By them doing that, you know which claims, which shafts are better than the others. He went back. 2 years later, he came, he says, Ambassador, come and see what we have done. I went there, I was most surprised. Well-organized SME miners with their mounds of ore, all of it being milled. Now, they are one of the top gold producers. They've gone to Kwekwe. They have gone to now Blawayo in Mad South, Gwanda area. They are there, and they are doing it so well. Safety is assured, they inspect, fidelity is there, environment is restored, organized mining. Maybe this is a template which we now need for Africa, because gold is everywhere. This is, and the First Lady visited Magaya Mining and was highlighting some of these aspects. These are innovations from the Zimbabwean SME sector. You know, remember, gold is responsible for most of our gold, from our gold, our hard currency, our ZIG, the strength of our ZIG, it comes from gold production.
So these are the innovations which the President Mnangagwa has allowed in the economy. And the First Lady was highlighting this aspect. We need to make sure that that industry continues to improve so that generally when a young man goes to mine, the wife knows he's coming back, the shaft is not going to cave in and lose her husband, or the mother is going to lose her son. And there's also the problem of silicosis. Sometimes they are mining without the right equipment. It's a new industry. It needs more attention. These are challenges. But the main thing is that President Mnangagwa has given an opportunity for that industry to thrive to the level where it is today. And this is a good thing for this country. So the spread of prosperity is not just to the big companies. It is also to lower companies. So this is what the President has done, and the First Lady was highlighting that. The last point I want to make, we don't want to, in English there is a phrase which says, give a dog a name, then beat it. Yeah. The name Zhigananda, I know it from the war. I was at Chitepo College. It generally referred to what is called the petty bourgeoisie. In Marxist class analysis, human society, people are placed in classes. And there's a class struggle between one class and another, the workers, the peasants, the middle class, then the super rich. This is generally Marxist theory about how society develops. So the petty bourgeoisie was translated would be Zhiganand. But this is about society. Now, because people were ambitious for power in the 1976 Vashandi rebellion, they started labeling somebody to Chiganand Muhondo. But being labeled in a class is in relation to your ownership of property. Muhondo hapana property. So how do you label somebody Chigananda Muhondo simply because of ideas? So behind it was an attempt to grab power. So you start labeling others. So I'm very, that's why I don't want to mention names all the time when we are criticizing each other. If you start labeling other people with Shigananda, chi, then out of that you're now saying Tidaiwa or Wazonzi. It's not right. There's nothing wrong about acquiring property. There's nothing wrong